Okay, this might seem like an unusual topic for this channel, but bear with us. The LEGO minifigure has come a long way whilst retaining its odd crab-handed charm, and for many years they've been selling blind bags / boxes of slightly more fancy minifigures. Sometimes themed around a particular thing, but often they're just like, whatever. We've never been serious collectors of them or anything, but we do pick up a few every now and again. The recent Space series was particularly nice since it included reimaginings of some of the themes I had kits of as a kid, and Baby Pink Spaceman is possibly one of my favourite objects to ever exist in this material realm. But that's the old series. The current one is Dungeons and Dragons.
And it's pretty great for reasons we're about to elaborate upon. Now, we did end up getting the whole set. It's the first time we've ever completed a minifig series, totally because it was necessary to make this video, which is not an excuse, actually. The selection in the series is honestly wild to us. There's a mix of named characters and generic ones, which means that as well as having things like a Gith Warlock or Halfling Druid, they also have like Strahd or the actual honest-to-God Lady of Pain. I know that some weird things have been turned into official LEGO sets in recent years. I mean, the fact that there's an official Baron Harkonnen LEGO man is hilarious, but I cannot adequately describe the noise of sheer joy and disbelief I made when I found out there was a Lady of Pain minifigure. The Lady of Pain. From Sigil. From Planescape. I'm still not over it. Also, some of them come with little friends, which I think you'll all agree is wonderful, especially in the case of the Mind Flayer's companion, because there is just something about having a tiny intellect devourer that is just delightful.
Now, although the named characters are cool and surprising, the interesting ones, in our opinion, are the generic characters. So for one, they each come with 2 heads, so you can choose to display them either with a mask or femme-style head, and each has 2 expressions, so you've got some choices with how you choose to display them. Plus, they made the torsos in such a way that they were fairly generic and didn't show any skin, meaning that this dwarf barbarian can easily have its parts swapped around and become a tiefling barbarian, for example. Now, since there's like tiny legs on the barbarian, they were originally a dwarf, you would probably want some regular sized legs of an appropriate colour, but they've been making those since the 70s, so you can probably find some without too much hassle. And when combined with the general modularity of LEGO, and things which can't legally be called LEGO but still work with it, that means that these could be a really good basis for making your own custom D&D characters. See, there we go, that's the reason that this ostensibly tabletop gaming channel is covering LEGO. Although I suppose it is D&D branded LEGO, so it would actually be completely normal for us to just talk about it anyway. Makes more sense than when we did a video about ghost hunting anyway.
Okay, so, if you were a DM planning on taking some people who hadn't played a TTRPG through an introductory adventure, then using some of these to represent some pre-made characters would be a super easy and fun alternative to using miniatures. And if the players want to change something, like, oh, I want my warlock to be a dragonborn instead, then you can just swap out some parts. And if they get a new weapon, then replacing it doesn't involve the nightmare of doing a weapon swap on a fully painted miniature. They even, like all blind box minifigures, come with bases so they don't get knocked over all the time, kinda like a tabletop miniature. And it doesn't have to just be for new players, or even D&D really, that's just an obvious use case.
Now, playing tabletop games with LEGO isn't a new idea. There's loads of games that people and LEGO themselves have made that use LEGO in one form or another. So we are not claiming to be the first to think of this, that would be absurd. Hell, I can think of 2 entirely unrelated tabletop games that use the LEGO Pirates theme just off the top of my head. And playing D&D specifically with LEGO is also not something new. People have been doing it for a while. If you have a spare 300 odd quid, then LEGO even currently have a big D&D set with an exclusive adventure for you to play using it. But these blind box minifigs are significantly more affordable than that enormous set. And with the inclusion of these specific D&D races in there, it's never been easier to start using LEGO for D&D. And it's really opened our eyes to how much utility there is for LEGO in tabletop games, if the aesthetic eccentricities of the minifigs don't mess with your immersion. And side point, but it can't be a coincidence that if you take the bard bits off the elf, they kinda look like Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. Actually, if you swap out some bits, I can almost make a passable version of the bard that I played through the game with. If only she were purple.
Now, it would be remiss of us not to talk about the fact that these are blind boxes, and blind boxes are just kind of terrible on the consumer end. There's the thrill of the gamble, sure, but there's nothing more frustrating than really wanting a specific one and getting a duplicate of something that you already have. And the fact that you're inevitably going to get some, or possibly lots of, duplicates means that collecting a full set of 12 requires you to buy way more than 12 of them, unless you're staggeringly lucky. Or use an easily found online scanner to check the QR code on the bottom, a thing that some shops do not seem to like you doing, but since the whole blind box thing is just to trick you into spending more than you usually would, I think it's only fair we get to put our finger on the scale too.
However, we will say that, with the general understanding that we do not care for blind boxes at the best of times, since the generic minifigs in this series come with alternate heads and it's easy to swap bits around to create variants that could be useful in your games, the sting of getting a duplicate is at least somewhat lessened with this series, unless, hypothetically speaking, you get a duplicate of the Lady of Pain, since, you know, there's only supposed to be one of her. Still, not as bad as the level of duplicates some people on the LEGO side are complaining about. Yeah, I'd be pissed too. But putting aside that, and whatever aggravating thing Wizards of the Coast have done with Dungeons & Dragons most recently when you watch this,
Because they will have done something, because they're Wizards of the Coast.
we can acknowledge that LEGO has done something kinda neat with the D&D license that might actually be useful for playing tabletop games as well.
And I don't know, I guess we just thought that was pretty cool. Finger guns.
If you were worried, the Ice Planet minifig's fine. Although I did have to search for the penguin for like half an hour. So I paid for my hubris, don't worry.